Good morning guys, Mac here with my class buddy Tiara. So today we're gonna do, let's say, a student presentation. We're gonna talk about the film, The Avatar. Not the bald one, but the blue one. And also about what the movie tells related to ancestor land, or in academic term, ancestral domain. If you remember seeing these blue people anytime in the past, you're not alone. Maybe you are one of millions who really like the film like we do. The world itself simply easily catches people's eyes. Well, even its mesmerizing paradise-like planet called Pandora created a widespread depression syndrome back then around 2009. It's because how fantastic and gorgeous the planet's nature was. Aside from its beautiful graphics, unbelievably hypnotizing world building, cool and full of action-packed sequences, you should also notice that what it's telling is also quite meaningful to some part of the world, specifically to those who lost their lands for the sake of some greedy
20
bad.
million a kilo. That's the only reason. It's what pays for the whole party.
If you haven't watched it, then we recommend you watching it first, then come back to us before we spoil it. So alright, for you who already watched but forgot, without further chit chat, let's jump into the story plot. In the future, Earth resources are basically dried out by humans, causing crisis. Human space exploration company called RDA finds the planet Pandora. Strictly speaking, though, it's actually a moon orbiting a bigger planet. But yeah, so in Pandora, RDA mines a highly expensive mineral to sell called unobtainium. The huge mineral chunks are largely located in the vast land of the area where the indigenous people called Navi live in harmony with nature. The film is a great 3-hour masterpiece, but for the sake of this video analysis, I shorten it. Jake and his friends like Dr. Augustine, Norm, Trudy, and Max Patel from RDA who research and study Navi's life are basically the middle side who try to mediate the diplomatic interests from RDA to the tribe. RDA tried to offer the tribes many things in return for their lands, but the Navi tribes want nothing from RDA. Frustrated, RDA then provokes the Navi and instigates a war in order to force occupation in their land.
Fire.
They almost succeed to evict them, but with the joint forces between Jake and his friends, Neytiri and her tribes, and the Navi from all corners of the planet, and also the wildlife power driven by Navi goddess, the RDA can be defeated finally. If you want to know the complete plot, we strongly recommend you just watch it because it's great and I promise it's worth of your 3-hour time. Right, so back to the case. The film director and the writer James Cameron explicitly says that the film is meant to be, well, explicit. I mean, it is not meant to be a neutral in its message delivery. Avatar very pointedly made reference to the colonial period in the Americas, with all of its conflict and bloodshed between the military aggressors from Europe and the indigenous peoples. From that quote, we know that the film is derived from an era of colonization and imperial rules. So in relation to our main central topic today, ancestral land rights, we're going to dive in and connect to the idea of imperialism. This idea is basically a policy where a certain nation or kingdom or an empire extend their influence and rule over other foreign nations so that the other foreign nation is dependent in various aspects. Normally, capitalism is also part of its characteristics, and it is not impossible that the conquered group becomes its colonial territory to the nation. You can see this extension of power in the movie both in form of soft power and hard power, such as when the RDA tries to persuasive approach by putting scientists like Dr. Augustine and Norm to study Pandora and use knowledge about Navi people for RDA interests in mining unobtainium. Another example is when Jack Sully is assigned to be a spy after managing to be accepted by Neytiri's tribe. Parker Selfridge also explains that RDA has offered various human infrastructures.
Just find out what the blue monkeys want. You know, I mean, we tried to give them medicine, education, roads, but no, they like mud.
From his words, we can clearly see common mindset of a colonialist, a racist, and a capitalist, all in one package of quote. These are familiar words that could come out from a mouth in the colonial era. There's this pattern of changing indigenous people's lives in the name of modernity by dominant power. They said they want to build schools, hospitals, roads, churches, infrastructures, and yada yada in the name of progress and civilization because they are primitive or savages according to those people, without even asking what the native people actually choose or what they actually think. And the most disgusting thing above all is how behind the scene, in secret, they actually conspire to steal something that belongs to those native people, belong to their land. Take an example of one of many cases of real-world parallel to what happens in the film, that is the Emongme tribe. There are similarities between their way of life and Navi's way of life, such as how they see humans and non-humans relations. They see humans and non-humans relations have the same spirit, only in the different physicalities. This type of paradigm is what the French anthropologist Philippe Descola call animism ontology. So the Emongme tribe and Navi both believe that the whole ecosystem is one interconnected and thus are the same entity. Nature is not something far. They are one of them, like the finger is a part of whole body. In extent, then, if the body is threatened, they would defend it at all costs. Another similarity is the fate. The Emongme tribe has been living in Papua Island, Indonesia since long time ago. Their land has been passed down from their ancestors before the giant gold mining company from USA, Freeport-McMoRan, came. And when their corporation came, they really took down a giant mountain of gold now called Grasberg mining site. Freeport Company in Papua Island established their mining site after their deal was made in 60s and 70s with Indonesian dictatorship government. Until now, in around half a century, the Emongme tribe has been witnessing their sacred land getting ripped in broad daylight and become a mining site. It's also becoming a base, including at their sacred mountain called Nemangkawi. The tribe did a number of protests, but since the company operated, there has been very little progress in favor on their side. In contrary, they have been victims of violence and a lot of them resulted in death casualties. It looks very similar to what happened to Navi people when they are attacked by RDA army, especially when their home tree was bombarded and during the big battle towards the end of the movie. The similarities stop at the ending part. While the Navi tribes are reunited, getting help from wildlife, and triumphant in repelling imperialist invaders, the Emongme tribe is almost alone, helpless, and practically still in minor spotlight from world exposure. Their fight to reclaim their ancestral land is losing and achieving very little progress, if there is any. Report from Mongabay.com says, during the last decades, indigenous communities from all around the world is facing the same problem: mining company, logging, palm oil plantations, animal farms, and other form of land grabbing. Very unlucky for these communities. The companies they are facing are occupied with big machinery and military force. What is also very sad is that some of their own government officials themselves who are actually making deals. The Avatar film is fun and an amazing spectacle for its viewers to forget our daily stress sometimes. But aside from it, it also reminds us once again with clear message that there are millions of real indigenous people around the globe, like among my tribe, whose lives and lands are threatened by giant business company and corrupt government. But tragically, most of their fates are not as happily ever after as in the film Avatar.
The Sky people have sent us a message that they can take whatever they want, and no one can stop them. Well, we will send them a message. My brothers, sisters, and we will show the Sky people that they cannot take whatever they want, and that this is our land.